Hi guys, welcome to my channel with another video. Today we are talking about another book. It's not only a book, it's a book series. So this is going to be the first video on that series, and I'm going to keep on reading the rest of the books, and I will come up with the review of the rest of the books as well. So before moving forward, I just wanted to introduce today's highlight. What I'm going to talk today is about Wheel of Time series, normally known as WOT. So Wheel of Time is known as one of the high fantasy series which has a massive support, massive, I would say, a group of fans around the world on this as well. So after the Lord of the Rings series, which had something like three books, this Wheel of Time series, it's written by Robert Jordan and started in 1990 if I'm not mistaken, and it has closer to 14 volumes. So today I'm coming up with the first volume, which is known as The Eye of the World. So this book is massive. I mean the series is massive with 14 volumes, but also this book is massive as well. I mean, you can see the print. I mean, it's very closely printed. I mean, you don't have any gaps and things like that. Still, it has 771 pages. So this 771 pages is not the pages in the book, only the pages which is in the main story. I mean, you have the prologue. Apart from that you have glossary, you have the rest of the filler content. But apart from that, the full story is for 771 pages. So it's a massive undertaking, which I am happy to take, and let's go on with that. Let's see what is all this hype about, and what is this book about. Okay, talking about the book itself. So as I said, this is a high fantasy series, which is some kind of following the same trait as Lord of the Rings. If you love Lord of the Rings, you are going to love this series. And the elephant in the room is, yes, you know this name most probably not because of the book, because of the TV show. Because very recently Amazon Prime released its first season of Wheel of Time series. That TV show is derived from here, but it has bit of changes here and there. I'll talk about that in the end. But generally it's about this story. Okay, so as I said, the first book was published in 1990, and Robert Jordan, the original author, written closer to 11 books if I'm not mistaken, and he has passed away, and another very famous author was brought in to complete the rest of the 3 books, and as of now all the 14 volumes has been completed. So this is one book which you can read end to end, unlike Game of Thrones. I mean, if you know George R.R. Martin, that series is never going to end. Okay, but unlike that, you can start this today. I mean, it will take at least couple of months to complete these 14 books. I'm envisioning more than that, but at least you can complete this. And yeah, so I mean, today what I have is paperback, and I brought this from Saraswati very recently. It cost me around 2,000 to 3,000 rupees. I can't exactly remember, but whatever the number, that was on high side. Normally we wouldn't be able to afford it, but I really wanted to start the series. That is why I bought it here. Okay, so the first book is the book which I have with me is called The Eye of the World. This is the first book of the series. So let's dig into what this story is about and how it evolves and what are my comments as well. Okay, so starting the story, first the context. So when you look at these high fantasies, I mean, you normally find a totally different world. That is why it is called a high fantasy. At the same time, you see the good of the world, which is normally represented by a god or the creator as well, and at the same time a dark side, the evil side. So in here, the good side is known as the creator, which they don't normally talks about much. But at the same time, the dark side, which is the predominant target of this story, the evil or the dark side is known as the dark one. So it's a continuous battle with the good and the bad. I mean, that's the whole premise of the story. So how it starts is, thousands of years ago, there were men who rallied against dark. These men were called dragons. Okay, so they were not dragons; they were men, but they were called dragons. But they rallied against the dark, or the darkness, or the dark one in here. And at the same time, at that time of period, even right now in this book, in this world, you have something called one power, which is ultimately something, let's say, a different name for nature. But the difference in here is, some people in the world, some people can manipulate this power. They can utilize this one power to do different acts. They are like magic, but you could consider them as magic, but altogether it's a different art. So thousands of years ago, these dragons, these people who rallied against the dark one, they used heavily on this one power, and they imprisoned the dark one in a cell and all his army. Okay? That's good, right? But the problem was, due to the fact that they use so much of one power to do this activity, finally all the men who used this power went mad. And especially there was, the last dragon, he went mad, and he went on a rant of killing all the dragons, or all the people who were using one power at that time. Predominantly that was men. So in the prologue itself, it talks about how the last dragon killed his whole family, and the dark one approaches him to, saying, okay, you can free me and then I can bring all your loved ones back and things like that. And he did not agree, but at the end, there was some activity called breaking of the world happened due to this. So the breaking of the world is, whoever had this magic power went mad, as I said, and they created so much of chaos around the world. They killed so much of people. They created earthquakes, and so it was a mess. So because of that, even though these dragons imprisoned the dark one, none of the people right now in the world, they don't actually like the dragon. Okay, they don't like the dragon. They don't want to have anything to do with it. At the same time, in the current context, none of the men are able to utilize the one power. Whoever is able to utilize the one power are the women. So normally they are known as Azadai. They are kind of a witch, a cult of witches, but mostly good. So I only read the first one, so I don't know exactly what is going to happen, but that's what it as of now. Now apart from that, how this story starts is, in this world, at the corner of the world, there's some rural village called Two Rivers, and there are four main characters which are in this story, mainly Rand, Matt, Egwin, Perry, and all these characters were in a festival called Beltane, which ultimately celebrates the end of the winter. If you remember the Lord of the Rings, it's the same as that, likewise in here as well. Now one Aes Sedai, which is basically a witch known as Moraine, she comes to the village with a warrior known as Lan. They came into Two Rivers to this village to identify a prophecy. So there was a prophecy 20 years ago saying another dragon was born, and he is coming of age at age 20. And after this 20 years, this Moraine, Aes Sedai, comes to these Two Rivers just to find out who exactly is that dragon and utilize him to imprison, or I would say the Dark One, which is already imprisoned, but the prison is, I would say, a bit hazy right now. Dark One is gaining power, so Aes Sedai wants to ensure that the Dark One stays as is. So they came into town to identify who this dragon is, but she is not able to identify who is the exact dragon reborn out of these 4 characters. There are things happening up in the village, and ultimately Maureen takes these 4 youngsters to something called Tavalon, which is basically the center of the Aes Sedai's palace, and that's the main story of this first book. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, there are so much of characters there, so much of magic systems utilizing this story, and yeah, I mean, that's the story as of now. So one good thing is you don't have to wait until the end of the series to find out exactly what happens with the Dark One, because even at this end of this book there's an encounter with the Dark One, so it's not that slow burner. But I mean, altogether the story was brilliant. Let me go to my comments. Okay, so when it comes to comments, I mean, I have already told you this series is immense. I mean, it has 14 volumes. This book is long, so reading is hard. But on top of that, the way that book has been written. For an example, see here. I mean, if you can see so much of close prints. I mean, so much of descriptions in there. So the story is pretty long. The author has, let's say, the first 2 out of 3 parts of this book is extremely slow burner. You have so much of description, and for me it took me more than a week to read this one. I mean, but at the same time, if you look at the number of characters in here, it's massive. Altogether, it was said in this whole series there are 2,500 closer to characters. I mean, honestly, I can't remember that much. So, as a trick to follow through the characters, identify the characters or know all the characters, what I did was I downloaded a mobile app which actually tracks the characters for me. So what it basically do is, I mean, it has a search bar where I can write the character's name, and I can select the character, and whenever I select the character, it gives me, okay, where it was known and what is the background, I mean, where it is being used and things like that. So it's pretty easy to track the characters. So in my description, I'll add the link to that application as well. If you need, you can use that. So apart from that, I mean, this book, as I said, has so much of descriptions of everything. Normally in a speed reading session, what I do is I skip some of these descriptive parts, and I directly go into the dialogues. And whenever I see something I don't understand, I come back and read whatever I have missed. Normally, I mean, even though it's bit counterproductive at that kind of a reading, I mean, if you look at the speed that you are gaining, it's really good. But in this book, I mean, there was a problem. Whenever I skip something, I always have to come back. It's not a rare case. Okay, so I always have to come back, and it took me closer to 2 or 3 days to understand, okay, this is not going to happen. I have to read everything out. So after that, I started read everything, and that slowed me down, but it was really good. So overall, the story is really good. I mean, it's really good, but still it's a first book, so much of unresolved things are there, so I'm not going to go into much details on that. I wanted to catch up on the TV show. So if you look at the very recent Amazon Prime TV show, it follows the same story. Unlike this book, it has so much of differentiation to the TV show season 1 as well. So after reading this book, I have went through the TV show as well one time, and I found out exactly so much of things are different. I mean, how the so much of I would say storyline has been cut out. So in a way, for a TV show that may be okay, but I mean, if you read the book, you will enjoy quite a lot. So even though you have already seen the movie, that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the book. Read it, you are going to love it. And apart from the coverage of the book, the season 1 of the TV show does not cover the full part of, I would say, book 1, but nevertheless it covers part of book 2 and book 3 as well, according to their narration. So it's a mix. It's not the first season 1 is telling up to book 1. So I would recommend before, I mean, their next season would be around October, November range. So before that, you can start reading the first book as well. So finally I have completed the first book. Now the second book is called The Wheel of Time, The Great Hunt. Okay, I have that book as well. I purchased that. I have yet to start this book. I have started to read another book just in case as a filler content, which I wanted to keep the energy running up with this book. So rather than keeping back to back, I'm adding several other books into the mix as well. So I'll come to you with a different video on the review of the book 2 as well. But overall, my recommendation is this book is great. I'm not considering the whole series because I have not completed it. Only on book 1 I would give a 4 out of 5 star for this, considering it's a must read and for any high fantasy fan. Okay, so then that's it for today. So I'm going to read the book 2 as well, and I'll come back with another video in the series, and most probably before that I will be coming up with a different review with a different book as well. So till then, see you later. Have a nice day.